wonderful, epic win!
Jackpot Master, play now!
Hey everyone, welcome back to the shop. The night is quiet. The only sound is the low electric hum of the old fluorescent lamp hanging above the bench and that deep, familiar smell of dust, oil, and decades-old wood that never really leaves these walls. In front of me lies a relic, a massive early 2000s computer monitor, the kind with a thick glass screen and a plastic case heavier than some modern televisions. To almost anyone else, this thing is electronic waste, something to be tossed into a dumpster without a second thought. But when I look at it, I don't see junk. I see a perfect 250 millimeter disc of crystal clear acrylic that has been hidden from the world for 20 years, just waiting for the moment it gets to spin again. There's something almost sacred, almost meditative about rescuing objects the rest of the world has already written off. This monitor once sat on someone's desk while they sent their first nervous emails, watched grainy YouTube videos at 360p, laughed at stupid memes, maybe even edited their wedding photos. It was part of countless small human moments, and now every circuit board, every screw, every tired capacitor inside it is dead, except this one piece of acrylic that is still flawless. Tonight, that forgotten piece becomes the heart of a real workshop machine, a disc sander that will quietly, faithfully smooth wood long after both it and I are gone. We're not building this because I can't afford a factory-made sander. We're building it because only when you take trash in your hands, cut it, weld it, balance it, and finally hear it roar to life, do you truly understand what a tool actually is. A tool is not a product. A tool is a conversation between you, the material, and time itself. Tonight, the conversation partners are a 750-watt motor that somehow survived 3 completely burnt-out ventilation systems, random pieces of rusty square tube that have been leaning against a wall for years, and this thick, honest piece of acrylic that outlived its original purpose by 2 decades. 3 orphans, 1 new life. Let's begin. Disassembling an old monitor always feels like performing an autopsy on a small slice of history. You remove screw after screw, the plastic creaks and sighs like it's reluctant to give up its secrets, and finally you lift away the shroud. And there it is, 8 millimeters of perfectly clear acrylic, untouched by scratches, untouched by sunlight for 20 years. I run my finger across the surface and it's cold, almost icy, but completely brutally honest. This material never pretended to be anything it wasn't. It just waited, cutting a perfect 250 millimeter circle without a CNC or a laser is an act of pure trust. Trust in the blade not to wander, trust in your hands not to shake, trust in the acrylic not to crack under pressure. You draw the circle the old school way, find the center with a compass and a steady pulse, and then you guide the blade slowly, breathing with the machine. When the disc finally drops free, it lands on the bench with a soft, satisfying thud, the exact sound something makes when it is born for the second time. Down on the floor waits the motor. It looks tired, covered in dust and old grease, but when I cleaned the bearings last week, it spun as smoothly as the day it left the factory. 750 watts, 2800 RPM, raw, uncomplicated power. Enough to turn impatience into dust in seconds. I build the frame from 20 by 20 square tube that has been rusting peacefully behind the garage since who knows when. I cut, I weld, I grind, I paint everything matte black so the machine almost disappears into the shadows and only the spinning disc remains the star of the show. Every extra gram, every unnecessary bracket I leave out. The secret to any good homemade tool is ruthless minimalism. Include nothing that doesn't have a reason to exist. Less is never lazy when it's honest. The work table is made from another piece of acrylic, thinner this time, almost delicate, but still strong enough to take real punishment. I cut a precise slot so the disc can rise through it like the moon through clouds. Then I add the angle adjustment, a couple of slotted brackets, a wing nut, and suddenly it tilts smoothly from 0 to 50 degrees. Nothing here is over-engineered. Nothing is fragile. It's crude, honest, and accurate to within half a degree, exactly what you need and not a single thing. Across the entire face of the big disc, I glue industrial-grade hook and loop. When the first sheet of 80 grit abrasive rips onto it, the sound is pure commitment, like tearing open a letter you already know will change everything. Under the table, I weld a simple 50mm dust port aimed directly at the point where wood meets grit. Later, when a shop vac is connected, the storm of sawdust will vanish before it even learns your name. Clean work is respectful work. The first power-up is always the moment of truth. The disc wakes, slowly finds its balance, then suddenly screams into full voice. For a split second, I'm afraid the acrylic will explode into 1,000 shards, but it doesn't. It just sings. I take a rough piece of oak that has been sitting in the corner since last winter and press it gently against the spinning surface. Centuries of growth, storms, sun, and wind disappear in warm golden snow that gets sucked away instantly. There is a deep, almost spiritual peace in that moment, watching time itself being erased while simultaneously creating something smooth, something new, something that will probably outlast me by another century. I switch to 240 grit and run the same board again. One more pass and the surface feels softer than skin, warmer than skin, alive in a way no piece of fresh lumber ever feels. This machine doesn't simply remove material. It removes noise from life. It removes hurry. It removes every excuse we ever had for doing things halfway. Real smoothness is never an accident. It is thousands and thousands of tiny, deliberate,